Welcome back, writers. I hope you had a chance to play around with word placement from our last episode. Word placement is an aspect of writing that doesn't get a lot of attention, but it can make such a big difference in your overall messaging. Today, we're going to talk about why it's not a great idea to start sentences with the words "there is." You know, everyday sentences like, "There is a new lawyer on the team." "There is going to be a meeting of the committee on Thursday." "There is a grandfather clock in the foyer of the new building." Exciting stuff, right? And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Full disclosure, as I was preparing for this episode, I actually learned that there's a name for sentences that start with "there is." It's called expletive construction. Expletive construction refers to any sentence that begins with "there is," "there are," "it is," or "it was." And there are a few other benign phrases that qualify. I had no idea there was a name for this kind of sentence, and the only reason I can think of for giving it a name is to call attention to what a bad idea it is. Expletive construction. Now, if you're like me, expletive has always meant curse word. So I looked that up, and in terms of sentence construction, expletive means this: an empty word, a word or phrase that has no independent meaning of its own, but is added to a sentence to take up space. So in your quest to become the best writers you can be, let advice like "add words to a sentence just to take up space" be a giant red flag. Adding words for no apparent reason does not jibe with our goal of getting our full message across in as few words as possible. Crafting stronger sentences means that every word we include has to contribute to the message. So what do the experts say about starting sentences with "there is"? They pretty much agree that "there is" passive phrasing that detracts from the real subject of the sentence. It makes sentences less clear or understandable, strips energy from a sentence before it even gets started, makes sentences needlessly wordy, and is vague and misleading. And all of those things are true, but the reason I don't want you to start sentences with the words "there is" because it is the most boring, unimaginative way to start a sentence, and it's the quickest way to let your reader know that you put no time or effort into crafting that sentence. And even if that's not what your readers are consciously thinking, some part of their brain is registering, "This sentence is boring." And if you repeatedly start sentences with "there is," your message becomes cumulatively boring. So how do we avoid starting sentences with "there is"? Let's take a look at our examples again. There is a new lawyer on the team. We get rid of "there is," look at what's left in the sentence, and figure out a way to convey that information in a sentence that starts any other way. A new lawyer has joined the team. The team will be welcoming a new lawyer. John, make room in your office. There's a new lawyer in town. Compare any one of those options with the original. Is it stronger? Is it better? What about our other examples? There is going to be a meeting of the committee on Thursday. We get rid of "there is," see what the sentence wants to say, and recraft it. The committee will meet on Thursday. Or we could add more information to make the sentence even more meaningful. To address concerns over hiring practices, the committee will meet on Thursday. What do you think? How do they compare with the original? And the last one. There is a grandfather clock in the foyer of the new building. We take out "there is" because it's so boring, and maybe we wax a little poetic on this one. A vintage grandfather clock graces the foyer of the new building. So think of it this way. Every sentence we write is an opportunity to share information and keep our reader engaged. And when we start a sentence with "there is," we are squandering that opportunity by cluttering the sentence with words that have no meaning, don't advance the message, and do nothing to keep the reader engaged. So every time you notice that you've started a sentence with there is, just stop. Don't make any more forward progress until you've gone back and rewritten that sentence so that it starts literally any other way. You get the idea. There is a serious limitation with the process that is rooted in outdated equipment. Or, a serious limitation of the process is rooted in outdated equipment. There is a growing concern among parents about vaping at school. Vaping at school is causing great concern among parents. There are a number of voltage modulation techniques that have been explored. We've explored numerous voltage modulation techniques. Are there exceptions? Sure. Most notably, it's fine to start a sentence with there is if that sentence refers directly back to the sentence just before it, as in this example. Residents are holding out for a better solution. There is a better solution, just not the one they were hoping for. So as you can see, there is refers to the better solution mentioned in the sentence just before. So in this case, there is actually serves a purpose. It helps the reader link the messages contained in both sentences. It's not just there to take up space. Just to be clear, we all start sentences with there is at one time or another. I do it all the time. It's just the way thoughts spill out of our brains onto the page. It's the writing process. But our job as writers is to make sure that those lazy sentences don't find their way into our final drafts. The only way a there is sentence makes its way into our final draft is if it's one of those exceptions, if you can justify keeping it because it contributes to the message. Okay, so in terms of the bigger picture, what I hope you're taking away from all of these tips is that writing is not writing. Rewriting is writing. That's where the magic happens. Your first draft should never be your final draft. Every sentence in your final draft should be the result of careful scrutiny, tweaking, and making good choices. And if you're doing that, you won't even have to worry about there is sentences because you will have found them all and fixed them in your rewriting process. Okay, hopefully you're convinced that there is a better way to start a sentence. Next time we're going to talk about contractions and not the childbirth kind. I'll see you then.